What's your plan for tomorrow? Are you a leader or will you follow? Are you a fighter or will you cower? It's our time to take back the power. What's your plan for tomorrow? Are you a leader or will you follow? Are you a fighter or will you cower? It's our time to take back the power. What you gonna do?
Hello, this is Matt Bergman, and you are listening to the Punk Rock Libertarians podcast, number 11. I'm here tonight with Alexis Schlegel.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, Alex.
Hey.
And Kyle Wagner.
Hello.
Kyle's new here. This is his first night.
He's a virgin.
Yeah.
My first podcast ever.
Alex has promised to be gentle.
Yes.
Cool. So, how's it going, guys?
Good.
Pretty good.
So, Kyle, what's your deal, dude?
Well, I've had a wild 3 weeks. A lot of political revelations. I decided to leave my career in accounting after 10 years and get full-time into politics. It was about June 7th. My girlfriend was out of town for the weekend at a concert, and I was just home alone reading political theory. And man, I just had all these revelations that just came at me like waves. And I want to kind of share a little bit of where I came from and how I came to be talking to you on this podcast. But my intellectual background is in high school. I read a book called 1984, and it put into me the fear of big government like you wouldn't believe. That book, Animal Farm, and also All Quiet on the Western Front, which made me just hate war with a deep passion. So those three books really formed. And also Brave New World, if you've ever read that. But that sort of formed a core of anti-government for me. And so naturally, when I got old enough to vote, I looked at the political spectrum of left and right.
So you're anti-government, but you want to get involved in government?
Well, I'll get to that. But let me. So I looked at the political spectrum, and obviously the Republicans on the right were the small government party. So I voted for.
So you thought.
I voted for George Bush. I'm embarrassed to say it. I figured that out of him and I think it was Al Gore at the time, George Bush was the small government guy, and that turned out to be a big mistake.
I think Alexis voted for war.
Yeah, I was all about that lockbox.
Yeah.
Lockbox on the Social Security bill.
So I've been giving a lot of thought to the spectrum, and this ties in with Rand and Rond and everybody else. But I had left and right, and I've been thinking about them. And if you think of the left, they're always increasing government towards welfare spending. It's entitlement programs, public schools, everything. They're always growing government.
Yeah, well, so are the right, though, man.
The right
between
is
all the corporate welfare going on and the military-industrial complex.
Yeah.
It's
the right spends on war. They grow government toward war, and both parties really do corporate welfare. So
that's funny because you mentioned that because the Democrats definitely do it too. They don't talk about it. They don't talk about the welfare that they dole out to the extremely rich guys that back their political party.
Yep.
But yeah, they do it too, and that's like the elephant in the room that nobody wants to mention: corporate welfare.
Yeah, it's definitely a bipartisan issue. They both do that. In 2008, an earthquake happened. There was a Republican debate, and one of the Republicans on the stage spoke blasphemy. He said he didn't like war, and he also implied that the United States bore some responsibility for 9/11.
Didn't he also say that we should legalize heroin?
Or
was that 2012?
That was 2012.
That was later. But
that was my favorite moment.
Yeah.
That was a watershed moment for a lot of people. Politics wasn't on my radar at that time. I missed it. I became a convert in 2010. I discovered Ron Paul in 2010, and he didn't fit on my political spectrum. He wasn't left. He wasn't right. So I actually had to create a new bubble for Ron Paul.
Yeah, totally. It's like he confused a lot of people, and it's like that's what got their attention. And then they're like, "Wow, this guy makes a lot of sense."
Yeah, I put Ron Paul above the spectrum, and in his own bubble. And 2-3 weeks ago, as I was thinking about the spectrum, I came to the conclusion that the left and the right are both progressive statists. They both drive toward expanding government. They just do it in different ways. So I drew a bubble around left and right, and a bubble around Rand Paul, and I connected those two bubbles. And so to me, that's the real political spectrum that we deal with. We in this libertarian movement are all in the small government bubble, and we're fighting against the rest of the world, which is in the big government bubble. And what I love about this big government bubble is you can map anybody in politics, any policy, and any politician in that big government bubble. You know, you could put Hitler down near the bottom on the right. You can put Stalin in the bottom on the left. Hillary might be a little bit above Stalin. Ronald Reagan would be obviously above Hitler. I think his rhetoric was better than his policies. But you know, I want to talk now about Rand Paul. You know, where does Rand Paul fit on this big government, small government spectrum? I think I call Rand the Pied Piper of the liberty movement. I think he's misled a lot of people. I think that his rhetoric is okay, but if you look at him, like a perfect example is his position on NSA. You know, Ron wants to get rid of NSA altogether. Rand says, let's just reform it, put some controls on it, and keep the policy, keep the program, keep the spying. You know, Rand fits into that big government bubble to me. I mean, he's not Hitler. He's above that. He's closer to small government than Hitler. But I don't see him as a man who is meaningfully going to cut any spending. So I think Ron, in principle, is in that small government bubble. I think Thomas Jefferson is in there. I think Ludwig von Mises is in there. You know, and I think most principled people are in there. And one thing I really want to briefly sidetrack and say, you know, Murray Rothbard, he had this bubble thing kind of down. He also recognized that left and right are two factions of big government. But
didn't he also endorse Newt Gingrich for president?
Well,
or Speaker of the House. Or
I don't know. I don't know that I can get into all his craziness, but you know, in his spectrum, he figured that no state was the opposite of big state or big government, and I think that a lot of libertarians have adopted that same mentality that you can have no state, and I think that's mistaken from, you know, a lot of deep thought, because for the last 5 years I've considered myself a Rothbardian. I agreed with that we can do no state, and if do you have something to say?
No, go
Okay.
ahead, dude.
The problem is, you know, I've been in this very hardcore Facebook debate group called Ancap versus Ancom debate group.
That sounds pretty intense.
It's extreme. It's anarcho-communists who believe that we can get by with no government. And I was losing debates to these guys. I mean, they have the same hole in their theory that we have in ours, but they
don't
would
believe
always
in, like, property rights. Like,
they
I just don't.
They have a different conception of
An
property.
idea of property.
They think that if you own a factory, you're actually withholding that from the workers. The workers have the rightful ownership of that factory, and not you as the guy who paid for it. You know, and I would always make the case, well, the workers don't bear the burden of ownership, the risk of loss. They don't have to pay for the maintenance, and they never paid for the factory in the first place. But ultimately, you know, the point is there's people that don't agree with us philosophically. And if you have an anarchist society, they're going to form factions, and they're going to use force, and they're going to make things the way that they want it. And you actually have to use force to compel people who aren't going to respect property, life, and liberty to do that. And that pushed me back onto the spectrum into minarchy, which also comes from Ludwig von Mises. Mises versus Rothbard is a debate that's at the very top, the very pinnacle of our ideology. And I never realized how important this debate is, because it affects our strategy as a movement, whether we try to take the state or whether we try to ignore the state and convince other people to ignore it.
Well, yeah, I don't think the answer is to ignore the state. You know, you can try to ignore the state all the day, but you're still paying taxes. And if you choose not to pay those taxes, they're just going to grab you and throw you in prison. You know, you might never ever see the light of day again. So you know, you really can't ignore the state. And I think a lot of change has come through politics. I think, you know, the world's getting better overall than we were, say, 100 years ago or 100 years before that. And I think Ron Paul did a lot through politics, and you know, I think there's a few other politicians here and there. You know, I think Rand. You know, you can rag on Rand a lot, but and I'm gonna like defend Rand a little bit just because like you're in the room, you know, because I'm gonna play devil's advocate with Rand, because he's a guy that sometimes I love and sometimes I hate, and it's both of those words. Like, I mean, sometimes I really love him, but sometimes I really hate him. But it seems like, you know, a lot of the concessions that he makes are things that maybe he feels he has to make to stay in the game, so he's not ousted out like his father was in 2012. And, you know, I kind of also think, you know, Rand, as a child growing up in the home of Ron Paul, chances are he probably absorbed a lot of what Ron's saying. And, it's like, what was it? Rand's brother, he actually came out like a month ago or something, and he was interviewed, and he said that there isn't any difference between what Rand and Ron believe. It's just the difference is in their application. It's basically their ways of getting there. And so maybe the things that Rand is doing are the things that need to get done to move us in the right direction, like to get elected, because they weren't having any of Ron, so, and it's been said that if Crazy is doing the same thing over and over again, and seeing no difference.
Yeah.
So what do you think about maybe Rand's strategy? He might be onto something. He might be a little bit more palatable for the mainstream than Ron.
Let me explain something real quickly. We're in a situation in this country where we've had 100 years of progressive statism, of big government policies. They have spent us into a deep, deep, deep hole with debt. And I thought that, if anybody here is familiar with Austrian business cycle theory, they know that, there's bubbles and corrections.
Do you think the hole's a moist hole?
It's
pretty deep, though.
It's a scary hole, is what it is. And
Hey,
what
now.
I thought 2008 was a meaningful correction. As I was doing my studying 3 weeks ago, I realized that Austrian business cycles are far, far bigger than we ever imagined. The Great Depression, that was an Austrian business cycle, and the debt it crashed in 1929, as predicted by Mises. Well, it kind of went down until about 1950. Well, this debt bubble has been growing for 65 years from the spending of the left and the right and the wars and the entitlements and the welfare. The money doesn't exist to pay all of these obligations off. And if anybody's caught Ron Paul's commercial where he's warning people on Fox Business and Fox News about an imminent economic crisis or a financial crash, the reason is because that 2008 correction was a tiny blip compared to what we have coming as far as a debt correction. The right political strategy, like we're never going to get enough people in to change the spending. No amount of emergency spending can change this, can cut this. The right political strategy is to present yourself as an opposition party, to point out what they've done, what a mess they've made, and wait for the system to crash. At that point, we can point to ourselves as economic prophets and, hopefully get elected. But we need to be on record as predicting this thing coming right now.
Like CUMMING?
What's that stand for?
Like basically,
Coming.
yeah.
All right.
So,
Anyway, so yeah, you want to be an opposition party. You want to be on the outside, warning about and throwing rocks at the establishment, at the big government establishment. The right strategy is not to do what Ron Paul did, which is be one guy that just gets into that mess, gets into the machine, and is just completely steamrolled on votes and everything else. You want to be out talking to the public and warning them what happens when you do go to wars that you can't afford and when you make promises you can't afford.
So you're saying the right strategy isn't what Ron Paul did?
That's right. I love Ron, but I think that his 40 years in Congress would have been better spent.
How did you come to you came to these ideas through Ron, right?
Actually, if you really want to know, I was watching the History Channel. It wasn't History Channel; it was American Heroes Channel, and it was about Germany. And there was a guy. Obviously, everybody's heard of Adolf Hitler. He was very ideological. He tried to take power by force in the early 1920s. He organized a lot of people. And they actually staged a coup. They tried to take the military. They tried to take the police. It was unsuccessful. He was thrown in jail, and he realized in his jail cell that the only way to political power is through the legitimate process. And when he came out, he tried. They got on the ballot. They ran for office, and one of his big things was the economy. Well, it was 1928.
Weimar Republic, yeah, they're
It was
money.
I didn't realize this at the time. I thought that it was the Weimar Republic that got Hitler in. It wasn't. It was 1928 when he got out of jail. The economy was booming, and he understood something though. He understood that the German economy was being propped up by money from American banks. The Roaring '20s was going on. The Fed had blown a huge credit bubble, and a lot of that money was in Germany. And he said, "Hey, these loans are going to get called in, and it's going to pull the rug out from under the German economy. And so the elections happened. Everybody, the economy was booming. Nobody wanted to hear a doom and gloomer. They got 2.6% of the vote in 1928. When 1929 came, obviously the stock market crashed. All the American banks pulled their credit back, and Hitler, who was actually not very smart economically and also a big asshole, he looked like an economic genius because he called the crash. And so it's that strategy of calling the crash that as a movement can launch us from a fringe movement to front and center in American politics, because we see this crash coming. Ron
so
sees
let's
this crash
do it
coming.
like Adolf Hitler did it.
You know what?
Well, slightly differently.
You know what? He blamed it on Jewish American banks, not bad monetary policy, not Democrats and Republicans, big government spending. I don't think that he was right in that. I think that it's bad monetary policy, bad government, and big spending, and that's where we need to pin the tail on the donkey and point to the proper people. I'm not blaming Jews. I love Jews, and they're fine people, and most of them have absolutely nothing to do with this.
Don't you think that when you say I love Jews, that's kind of just as bad as saying I hate Jews, because it's really just talking about like a whole race of people in that way. Whereas in actuality, there's probably some Jewish assholes out there. I mean, there's some really cool Jews too, but Jews, like everybody else, you're gonna have your regulars, and then you're gonna have your assholes.
Yeah, that's a totally fair point.
It's probably not good to say that I
it's all
love
like
Jews.
We were talking like just like grouping and just putting people in but no, I totally get it, Kyle. Like, I mean, I think your strategy, seriously, like working outside the system, I think is far more fruitful than working in the system, because let's face it, like if you don't toe the line, you don't. Right. And I think that's because we all know it's coming. I mean, I think everybody in the liberty movement or in basically knows like what we're facing, but I mean that's definitely a strategy, but like getting in front of it.
I mean, I would just go back and say, though, I mean, who pretty much created the liberty movement? And I'm a person. I've been into libertarianism way before I heard of Ron Paul. I don't think I'd actually heard of Ron Paul until like I don't know, maybe like 2005, 2006. Like I heard of him and I was like, wow. I heard him speak. I'm like, wow, there's somebody in Congress who believes this. Yeah. He blew me away. But but I'd been voting libertarian. First election I voted libertarian was in 2004. But I got into the party around like 2001. And then prior to that, I was just into the ideas. Like I didn't believe in either of the major parties. I was actually a principled non-voter because, I'd seen them through my lifetime. No matter who won, nothing much changed. It's both parties are for the status quo. It's really an illusion of choice. They kind of like appease the people by saying, oh, look, you're going to choose the leader, but all the while you're choosing from the people that they give you to choose from. And those people that they give you to choose from are always people that will uphold the status quo.
Right. Yeah, I totally agree. You can only choose from what's on the political menu that's handed to you. And we as a liberty movement, we don't have a very good selection.
But Ron created the liberty movement. I mean, it's most of the people in this movement got there by Ron Paul.
I agree.
I think he definitely highlighted like what Kyle's talking about, just the Fed and monetary policy. Like he basically shed so much more light by having the national stage and talking about that. Because I would say like I was not ignorant, but like, talking about like Ron made talking about the Fed and monetary policy, like you could understand it, or you could start studying it and researching it more and really getting into what Kyle's talking about. So yeah, definitely like Ron Paul opened a lot of people's eyes that were probably already there, but definitely like maybe took us another step further, in our looking into like all issues that affect our liberty.
And like a side of me too is kind of scared that if like I honestly I don't think that Rand Paul could get elected. But at the same time, it could be wrong. Maybe the powers will have it if he concedes enough, But a big fear of mine is that he does get elected, and then it's basically we've got a balloon right now that keeps growing larger and larger and larger. So what if it busts on a quote libertarians watch?
I agree.
You know, and then all the libertarians are blamed. So maybe we don't want somebody at the helm when that's going to happen.
I agree.
And I can also see the whole argument. You know, maybe the answer to the system is the system. Like, let the system kill itself.
It needs a reset.
Yeah, but then the scary thing about a reset, though, is, you know, it could also go to like total state control, depending on who takes over.
That's why we need to organize, you know, pretty quickly. There are two other parties that are small government parties. I would consider them allies to us. That would be the LP and the Constitution Party. They don't have the economic theory that Ron has. They don't have the Mises Institute background. They don't see this crash coming, and they're not warning about it. I do think as a movement, we've been kind of disjointed. We have a bunch of think tanks. We have a bunch of educational institutions, small podcasts. I think we need to organize and present our ideas to the public as a party so that we become a political option on the menu for them. We don't have to win any elections right now. You know, this is more a party that's mission is mostly education and getting on record predicting a disaster.
Yeah, I mean, wasn't that really Ron Paul's message? I mean, wasn't his message kind of like the whole mission? Like, I don't think that Ron ever really thought that he was going to get elected.
Yeah, that's probably true.
Yeah, so I mean, it's basically like the only difference between Ron and Rand. You know, according to his brother, you know, they both believe in the same shit. Their idea is of how to accomplish it. Whereas Ron was like delivering the message, and Rand's more about like trying to get into the presidency.
Yeah.
You know, he went straight for the Senate when he ran, and he actually got in. You know, so so far he's been pretty successful. I mean, he does some shit that pisses me off when he called for like what was it, $191 billion hike in military spending. That really pissed me off.
How about imprisoning Edward Snowden? I think I don't know how you guys feel about Snowden. I think he deserves a statue and a medal.
Same here, dude. Yeah, Edward
definitely.
Snowden's one of my favorite people. Glenn Greenwald, one of my favorite people.
Yeah, I think Rand is a political opportunist. He doesn't have the economic background that his father has, or the principles. Like I said, he just, you know, Rand is about his own political career.
Well, see, I disagree about the economic background, dude, because, I mean, he grew up in Ron's house. He's probably heard Ron speaking politics at the dinner table every fucking night. He's heard Ron say more shit than anybody. So he probably does have that same background.
I think the apple fell pretty far from this tree. I don't see Rand out there warning about the dangers of an imminent economic crash.
I see him talking about cutting taxes and balancing the budget.
Yeah, it's those even if they were all on the same page, you know, our leadership, the Democrats and the Republicans, I call them Rep Dems, because they're almost basically the same party. They still have their foot on the gas. They're still increasing spending. They don't even know how dangerous, how precarious this situation is. Meanwhile, the central bank is propping up this bubble. I think it peaked in 2008, and ever since then, the Fed has printed $5 trillion, keeping this debt bubble from imploding. And I don't know that they realize how important that support is. If they take that support out and actually try to let interest rates rise, all this unpayable debt could collapse again. So we're actually in a very precarious situation right now.
So Kyle, going back to what you were talking like 3 weeks ago, so tell us about this event that you went to. When you saw Rand, if you want to get into that.
Yeah.
Did you find this event on Grindr?
You know what? I have friends in.
I was out of town. I was invited. I just decided not to go. I was on the beach. And
I've been involved in Campaign for Liberty, and I have friends associated with that. As I learned that 2008 was not the real correction, I had an anxiety attack. I just was so scared because I realized that how big Austrian credit cycles actually are, and that 2008 wasn't a significant correction. All this debt is still outstanding. All these unpayable entitlements are still outstanding, and we haven't adjusted. We haven't liquidated all that debt. Ron always talks about liquidating bad debt. It hasn't been liquidated. So I had an anxiety attack. I thought that I could go to a Rand Paul event and shout at people.
The most interesting thing about this is that you were a fucking accountant. So, I mean, you're going to understand like numbers and money better than anybody.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know, your average person doesn't have that, you know, kind of background with numbers.
Yeah.
So yeah, I can see where like, you know, this probably would drive an accountant fucking nuts.
Yeah, it definitely was driven out of fear. And I thought I could just go warn people. And I thought they would listen to me if I did a brief presentation. I mean, it was unauthorized presentation. I stood on a chair and I shouted at people, and I said, you know, this is our debt bubble, and it started. I did Vietnam, I did Iraq 1, Iraq 2, Afghanistan, entitlements, and I tried to show people how big this thing has gotten and what a threat it's been. And I don't think my message of what's going to happen when this bubble implodes, I was dragged down by security before I was able to get to that part of my speech.
So what happened? Like when did this all happen during the event? Or
you know what? I was trying to be. My friends were in charge of security, and they said, once they realized what I was going to do, that I was going to grandstand, they tried to talk me out of it. And I said, look, I won't do it. I won't do it during your event. It's not appropriate. Well, I figured I'd wait till after. I didn't mention that to them. So the event was wrapping up. People were kind of walking toward the door, and I called for attention, and so the
event was over. It was like more or less,
the event was winding
clearing
down.
out.
Unfortunately, I interrupted the raffle numbers. They were trying to read the raffle numbers.
No.
But I got some photographers and I was trying to catch the what happened was the guy with the camera was starting to shut it down, and I wanted to try to get on camera and say my warning, but that doesn't work. I mean, it just, you can't shout it at people. They have to sit and listen to your talking and be a captive audience. They have to be able to hear what you're saying to get the message.
Yeah, it's kind of like if you were to like run for president and say it on like the television on like a presidential debate. That might be a good strategy because like people are maybe listening.
Yeah, but I mean the thing is though, like I mean to really get into it, you need, I mean let's face it, like even Ron Paul, like in the debates in 2008 and 2012, I mean you're trying to explain, Austrian free market economics in like a 1-minute blurb, or
dude,
explaining about the Fed. All
you have to do is plant a seed of interest, and motherfuckers can fucking get on Google and Google the rest, dude.
Yeah, but the vast majority of Americans aren't there yet, man. I mean, like they're like,
maybe that's why we need Rand in 2016.
Possibly, but
I'm just playing devil's advocate, okay?
Yeah,
I don't see myself voting for Rand, but I'm just throwing this end out there.
Yeah, people do not see this crash coming. I want to point out, I don't know the exact timing of it. Ron is on TV showing a commercial saying that this thing is imminent. I'd say within 5 years, maybe within 2. I think people need to consider what would happen if we have a crash in the financial system: stocks, bonds, pensions, annuities, bank accounts, and finally currency.
Do you think Alex Jones knows when?
You know what? I'm not an Alex Jones guy. I think he mixes in conspiracy theory and truth.
Yeah, but
he's
usually got the documents.
But he might have the documents, Kyle.
Yeah, I don't. I'm not an Alex Jones guy.
Yeah,
I've learned most of my economics from the Mises Institute, and obviously Ron Paul. But I think that the theory is correct. I look at this debt bubble and I just say this thing is going to crash on our heads at some point, and it's going to be chaos.
Kyle, definitely like and
it's going to be a money shot.
I told Matt, I was like, yeah, we should bring in like Kyle to talk about economics and Austrian free market and Mises and so yeah, it's definitely good to hear this. Like, what would you say for our listeners out there? What would be like a good book, like to maybe like Ron Paul's and the Fed. I'm sure everybody has read that, but like, what are some good like books to check out?
For me, the books that I recommend, since I've converted from Rothbardianism to Misesianism, I like Mises's book, Economic Policy Thoughts for Today and Tomorrow, is a very good introductory book. It's called The 6 Lessons in Brazil, which I think is a better title. But that walks you through his thought, and he also talks about inflation. It was a series of 6 lectures that he gave to college students in Argentina, so it's very readable at a low level. The intermediate book I recommend is his Liberalism, which sort of details what a free society looks like in Mises's idea. And for anybody that's really interested in high theory and also expanding their mind, they can read Human Action, which is a 900-page treatise. But this entire change in my personality is sort of based on human action, because I had an idea and I decided to take action. It's one thing to have an idea and sit on your butt on your couch. It's another to put your ideas into action and get involved. And I feel so strongly about this financial crisis that I felt I needed to, let my friends and family know. And my message, which is also Ron Paul's message, is slowly spreading outwards in the circles of people I know.
So what's some good websites too, like that you might recommend checking out?
Well, I do want to say one thing, and I haven't told these guys yet, but my idea was that as Ron Paul people, we are homeless. We need a home, and I had the idea for a party. Again, it's an educational party, but the word party lets the public know that we are a political option. So I've started a party called the Misesian Party. You can find us on Facebook, and I'll be blogging about the Fed's decisions and the status of this coming crisis.
Okay, well, why not just try to get involved in like the Libertarian Party, a party that's already there, a party that, what did we get, like was it 1 million views or 5 million views like the last presidential election? We got more than any third party ever.
Yeah.
You know, and the Libertarian Party, isn't that pretty close to the Misesian Party?
The Libertarian Party, they have a couple problems with them. One is that they have the wrong strategy. They're actually trying to win elections right now. They're trying to win local office. If you think of politics as a 3-level chessboard, it's federal, state below that, and local below that. It does us no good to capture local and state offices with big government statists above our heads passing their legislation down on us.
Wait, I mean, does us no good?
It's really not. I mean, maybe.
I mean, dude. We've caught a lot of those, and those are a lot of the ones that you can catch. It's going to be harder to catch the federal offices.
Right.
I mean, I think you should go for all of them. I think you should advance liberty through politics. I think you should advance liberty outside of politics. You can advance it through like counter economics.
Yeah.
I mean, you can advance it through agorism, just, dealing with your friends and neighbors under the table, a counter economy.
Well, I look at political strategy as having 3 different types. You have direct action, which is stuff you do yourself. You practice what you preach, basically. Then you have education, which is trying to convince others. And then you have political action, which is actually getting your hands involved and actually implementing the policies that you believe in. Direct action is great, but it's only you. It's not really changing the system. So I look at those other 2 as teaching and then actually implementing policies as the 2 critical steps that we need to do. My point is, I wish somebody would have thought of this, 40 years ago to say, hey, Ron Paul needs his own party. The LP is not quite close enough. They actually make a lot of compromises to big government in their platform. The Constitution Party is they're both decent parties, but they don't have they're not pure Ron Paul, and I am pure Ron Paul and pure Misesian economics, Mises Institute economics. So I think we have a much stronger ideological base that they don't have, and I think as a small fledgling party, we can actually get on record with the prediction that those other 2 parties don't have, and we can look like we really know what we were talking about when the shit hits the fan, basically.
Yeah, I agree about the Libertarian Party. I mean, my dad ran for office, and that's what got me into it when I was, in high school and college. But, I would go to events, and it was, hardcore. It was like, eliminate the income tax, and just hitting issues real hard. And then, over the time, because they're trying to compete they're trying to become more not mainstream, but just so they're kind of compromising. They're like, oh, let's cut the income tax. Well, just like 10 years ago, and then you have like Beltway libertarians, like the Cato Institute, which is, so yeah, they do kind of compromise or certain, just to kind of appeal to the masses, because yeah, their strategy is to win elections, not advance the principles. I mean, that's ideally what they should be doing, and they usually do, but then also they look at like, well, we could almost win this race if we just compromise a little bit, or if we just kind of tone our message down a little bit. So yeah, I agree to a point. Like, yeah, definitely, like maybe it is time for, another, party, and more options. The more options, the better.
Yeah, we're very small. I'm trying to recruit bigger names, middle level names like Julie Borowski, or there's an economic blogger named Robert Wenzel that's very good. I tried to talk to Lou Rockwell. I talked to him on the phone briefly, but he didn't read he hadn't read my paper, and he hasn't responded back to me. I just think time is short to get organized and to get in position to, because here's what can happen, guys. If we have a crash, we aren't in position to implement private property and small government, we could have a second New Deal. We could have another big government recovery plan. The voters are going to look around and say, who saw this coming? And if nobody saw it coming, they're going to jump right back into the arms of the rep dems, and we're going to get more big government. And obviously, that's going to drag out any kind of correction for 20 years and lead us right into another bubble. So I think it's important to position ourselves now. You know, we can't be afraid of. We know what's best. Like, we know what's best. We know small government, private property, and peace, and not war. And I think that we can't be afraid of leadership, and we shouldn't be afraid to implement what we believe in. You know, it's easy to talk about it, but you got to walk the walk.
I don't know. I don't know if we do necessarily. I mean, I can't say that I know what's best for, like, even myself or especially not anybody else. You know, that's why, like, you know, I don't think the president does either.
I think you do know best. I think you actually know better than Barack Obama, just in my brief time talking to you.
I mean, I think I know better because I believe that, you know, I don't know, so people should be able to take care of their own shit.
Yeah. I mean, well, as far as like war, peace, I would put you probably in the peace category. You know, that alone puts you above of almost every rep them.
Yeah, I mean, I'm all about peace. I'm all about ending, you know, policing the world, the military-industrial complex. But you know, I think part of the whole point of liberty is, you know, just not telling people what to do.
I'd love to go with that, but I mean, you know, it's one of those things where, you know, they're gonna do it. I mean, if it's more Republicans and Democrats, they're gonna look for a government solution after a crash. And I don't know what kind of controls they're gonna implement, what kind of things. You know, you could have like a FDR confiscated all the gold. You know, they may cartelize all the industries like FDR did. We just don't know. But I mean, their impulse, their natural inclination is toward big government. And I'm not asking you guys to say, hey, I want to be in Congress, but we do need leaders. You know, we need people that aren't afraid to implement our policies in Congress. You know.
I think it's just a matter of just advocating, like just education, getting the message out there to more people. So, speaking of getting the message out to more people, Matt, you wanted to talk about Minds. So
yeah,
tell us about it.
Yeah,
this could be the platform.
So, like, where were you guys this week? How did you not hear about Minds.com?
I was busy all weekend.
So Minds.com is pretty fucking awesome. It's apparently it's anonymous, backed. And it's a new social network, and they're doing like encrypted messaging, and you know, you can do like Bitcoin stuff on there, and it's just like a lot more private than Facebook. You know, they're not doing stuff with your information. It's pretty
advertisements.
Badass.
No.
So far, I haven't even seen any advertising. I'm wondering how they're making money without like advertising.
The .com business. The .com business.
Yeah.
Yeah, remember the .com bubble? It was just like anything with .com. They, you know, went public and, you know, with no business model.
Yeah, I mean, but I mean, dude, it's pretty amazing. Like, I got on there, I guess, like 3 or 4 nights ago, and I made a personal account, and then I got on there the next night, and I made like an account for Punk Rock Libertarians, and it's cool as shit because it only takes like fucking like 10, 20 seconds to make an account. And then you can just throw in your information and stuff. I mean, it's just like super easy. And, you know, the thing is, Facebook, like they limit your reach. They fucked over a lot of pages. They stop the free flow of information. Hence, they stop the decentralization of thought. And that's what we need. And I think the libertarians have been very successful in the internet. You know, I think Facebook's helped libertarianism a lot, you know.
Yeah, I agree.
And but now Facebook sucks. I mean, you're only seeing a few of your friends post every day. You know what I mean? You're just missing out on so much. Like I know I can speak for Punk Rock Libertarians. At one point, we had like a 22 million reach. Wow. You know, like, and then right now our reach is like a little over 300,000. And
I'm still super impressed right now. I had no idea you guys were that big.
Yeah, well, 300,000 as opposed to 22 million. You understand? You're an accountant. Yeah. You fucking understand that.
I understand. I'm just.
That's a huge drop.
I just am still, you know, compared to where what I'm doing, that's huge. But still.
I mean, I've been going at it for like 5 years, and I started the page at 0, and we just kept growing it, and then like I said, we had a point where we had a huge reach, and we were gaining at about like 500 to 1,000 likes per day. And I mean, it was just blowing up, and then it went off like a switch. So they cut our reach. So it's kind of like, it's the market. The people wanted us. We kept gaining in popularity. When people were seeing our posts, we were spreading like a fucking virus. And then when Facebook cut our reach, they've just halted us like a switch.
When do you think that all went down? When they went public and they started advertising more on Facebook?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of when it
Was
went
there
down.
like an exact
I'm trying to think of when it
moment?
went down for us. Like one thing I wish I got more serious about the website when we had a larger Facebook reach, because then it wouldn't be hurting us quite as much now. But I don't know. It just really sucks. And the cool thing about Minds is you actually, all your fans or friends will see your reach, and then you can actually the more you participate on there, they give you points that you can use to actually boost your reach. So, and this is going to be the greatest transfer of information ever if people will just go there and participate in it.
Better than Friendster?
I can't speak for Friendster. I was
Better
never
than
on there.
MySpace?
But yeah, essentially it's going to be the greatest ever. Facebook was pretty awesome in the beginning and there for a while, but this is going to be much, much cooler than Facebook. So we just need to get people over there. That's the whole thing. So so far, I'm very fucking happy with it. I would encourage you guys to get over there and tell your friends.
Minds.com.
Yep.
Right,
So,
so what's the
are you going to make
platform
an
like?
account this week, dude? Are we going to be
I'm gonna
buds
start
on
one tonight.
Minds?
Yeah, we'll be friends.
Okay, cool, sweet.
Yeah.
Touching tips.
I'll create an account for you.
So yeah, man, fucking A, Minds.com. Yeah.
But yeah, so what else we got, Matt? We're going to talk a little bit about Porcfest.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah,
So,
this week?
So you ready for this, dude? You're not going to vag out?
No, I'm definitely going. Definitely going. Kyle, are you going? You're not
Unfortunately-
working now. You should go.
Yeah, I know. I don't know. I'm trying to think what I have on my schedule. I've been doing a lot of organizing and getting things set up. So
Well, you should come up and organize up there.
yeah, I mean that's definitely a lot of people who believe in peace and private property rights. It's a lot of kindred spirits up there, and I know I would enjoy it.
You definitely network, man, and probably be good, man. You should come up for a couple days.
Yeah, I'm seriously considering it right now. I gotta think about that.
So yeah, but going up there, gonna visit Vermont, visit my cousin, hang out with him, and then probably gonna spend all day Saturday and a little bit on Sunday.
Oh
So,
yeah, and just to let everybody know, Tim Davis from Grass Fed Revolution said that Alex can actually set up pitch a tent on
Yes.
his site.
Yes, he allowed me to pitch a tent
Yes.
on his site. So yeah, I appreciate that. Thanks, man. So yeah, but Matt, you looking forward to it?
Yeah, man. I look forward to it every year. It's pretty much my favorite time of the year. It's like a libertarian Christmas. So
You know who all's speaking there?
the only names that I've heard Jeffrey Tucker. I didn't even look at the list. I'm just go there. I'll find out who's there when I'm there.
He's a character, man. I don't know.
Yeah. He's definitely entertaining, dude. I think he's a cool dude.
Probably Gary Johnson will be there. He usually makes an appearance.
I haven't heard. I think it would be wise of him to be there, though.
Yeah, he was there the both years I went. It was pretty rad. Like he was just hanging out. So
Yeah, he was there in 2013, but I don't believe he wasn't there last year, as far as I know, unless he was like lurking in the shadows.
Gary makes too many compromises to big government for my taste, but I think his heart's in the right place. He came and spoke to our group in the local Campaign for Liberty group, and
what was that, like 2010? Wasn't it?
Okay, so he
2011?
makes too many compromises for big government, but when he was governor of Mexico, he actually balanced the state's budget.
Yeah, and he vetoed a lot of bills. That's what I said. I think his
Yeah,
heart's
he
in the right
vetoed
place.
more bills than like any other fucking governor,
Yeah,
and he's running for the president, and he just got more votes than any other third-party candidate ever.
yeah.
So he's kind of doing something better than anybody else has done it as far as like third parties go.
Yeah.
So why not try to help that party? They're already doing so well. Why not just put your efforts towards that instead of just starting from scratch?
Yeah, I just feel like they're just not quite there. If it was Ron Paul,
Take them there.
yeah, I don't know. I hear you, but I
And
just
those
feel
are
like
the people that you can probably most easily talk over to your way, right? I mean, because they're already there, and
they're not there economically. If you want to hear,
yeah, but okay. Say if you got the hardcore status over here, like the big spenders right over here, to your right, and then say
well, to your bottom, I'd like to think of the political spectrum as up and down.
Okay, like
small government,
kind
big
of like the
government.
Nolan chart.
Yeah, like the diamond with the.
No, not even like
Bubble chart?
that. I
No,
just think
no?
of two bubbles, a small bubble up top and a big bubble down below, and then like almost like a band connecting them that's being stretched because the small government people
Okay, but
pull up.
libertarians are already closest to that smallest bubble, right? So
They're close, but they just on some policies they compromise down to toward big government. So I think of like Milton Friedman and Frederick Hayek, like they make compromises to big government on certain things, not on everything, but like Milton Friedman. I mean, the withholding tax was his idea, So this is a guy that we claim as one of our own, and he's good on a lot. But I think that particular policy was not very good.
No, I mean I agree with that, but there was of course a lot of things that he was good on,
Yeah, for sure.
You definitely need to go to Porcfest, man, because this is like the type of conversations that would you'd be engaging in Porcfest. Is like you would have like so many people that pretty much agree on 99.999%, but they'll argue that 0.00001% on like strategy or implementing and just philosophy, and you definitely need to get up there, man.
Yeah, I'm really concerned with like I said, the debt bubble. To me, that's the only important issue right now in national politics. I'm not concerned with local speed cameras. I'm not concerned with I don't know. I can't think of anything else right now, but just the little issues. I think we have a small movement as it is, and I think we spend too much time bickering with each other over the little things. And we're all on the same page with war. We're all on the same page with private property rights and freedom and liberty. And I think just spending time with the left progressives, with the anarcho-communists. I've realized how far away they are from us, and it actually brings you together when you argue with the other side with the big government status, and you realize like, man, we got to stop bickering amongst ourselves, and we got to start persuading some of these people that are like just either war nuts or welfare nuts or whatever.
Yeah, it's like I don't know, man. I think like there might be other ways to. I think it definitely would be fruitful working within like the liberty movement and trying to bring people in for sure. Because just looking at there's definitely people that know like what's coming or what potentially could be coming down the line and are definitely aware of it. But sometimes it's like one of those things where people just want to refuse to exist and focus on other issues that are affecting them right now, but they can't see that far down the line. Like, look, everything else is not going to matter once the shit hits the fan. But anyways.
So Alex, you're getting the Porcfest on Saturday?
Yeah, I think so, man.
Like what time of the day?
Oh, I don't know. Probably like in the morning.
Oh, really?
Mid-morning.
Okay,
Yeah,
so really
yeah.
early. Cool.
Probably. Yeah. I want to make a whole day of it.
Cool.
Try to check it out. So.
Dude, but Porcfest is a week, dude.
Yeah, I know, but
I'm just fucking with you. Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to Vermont. Gonna go to Maine. Gonna make a little trip of it.
Yeah, like I'm actually heading up there way early Tuesday morning. So like we're looking to leave.
Kyle, remember Dave Boyer?
Yeah, I know
Yeah.
Dave. He's up with the marijuana policy project up in Maine.
Yeah.
And I saw a magazine cover with him, and he's presented himself. He always wears a suit, and he's always giving public speeches, and he looks very presentable. And a magazine picked up on that, and he looked like the respectable one on the magazine cover. It was a cartoonage,
Oh yeah.
And,
There's like the three advocates up there, like
yeah,
in Maine. and
Dave's doing
Portland.
great
Yeah.
work up there. That's the issue that's important to him. I totally support his efforts.
Yeah.
I support all drug legalization. Or I like to say end of prohibition. That's the language I like to use because people they recognize alcohol prohibition was a total failure. So when you say I want to end drug prohibition, it kind of makes that connection back to, oh, it's a prohibition. Oh, that's why that's bad.
Yeah, so we're definitely looking forward to hanging out with Boyer up in Portland. So yeah, that'll be cool. Like we went to the first Porcfest together. Like there was a whole Maryland contingent. I think that was like 2010? It was a good time, man. It was like the early days of Porcfest. Or when did it start? Like 05, I believe. 04, 05. I think that was like the first one.
I believe like 2003 maybe.
Really? Oh,
Yeah.
Okay.
How many have you guys been to?
This is my third.
Alex?
This would be my third. Like I went like 2 years back to back, and then kind of took like the past 2 years didn't get a chance to get up there. So looking forward to it.
Yeah, I wanted to
It's
go
gotten
for
bigger and bigger every year, right? That's it.
Yeah, exactly. It just keeps getting bigger and bigger.
That's good. I went a couple years ago. I went to Firefly Music Festival in Dover, Delaware, and it was 60-some thousand people. And I remember thinking, man, I wish this many people were into like going to Porcfest. But I'm happy that it's growing. It's just crazy to me. Like people that music, they just they gravitate to, like moths to a flame. And we do okay. You know, it's good. 2,000, 3,000 people. I think that's respectable. I wish it was bigger.
Well, I mean, Porcfest, you know, there's question about, like, I mean, well, how big could it really get? Because, like, the campground, I believe in the past couple years, if not just last year, actually sold out. So, you know, people are having to set up camp on, like, local farms and shit.
Wow.
You know?
So they're already outgrowing the venue.
Exactly, yeah. And where can you get a bigger campground where you can, you know, right now there's like 1,500 people or something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know, but that's good. I'm glad to hear that.
Oh, yeah, it's definitely good. I just, like, it would kind of suck if it was, like, Porcfest tickets sold out, like, a year in advance and people, you know, or I guess it would be pretty cool if Liberty got that big, you know.
Yeah.
But, totally. But at the same time, it's like, I want to be able to go to Porcfest, you know.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm totally excited about that. And so, yeah, guys, what about Charleston this week? It's pretty crazy, huh?
Yeah, definitely. Whenever like big events like that happen, my Facebook feed just blows up, and a lot of people just go full retard on, you know, and just grasping at straws. And you know, it's a tragedy. It's a shame, but you know, unfortunately, sometimes these things happen, and I don't know. A lot of people out there and trying to find scapegoats for, you know, why this happened, or grasping at straws, and you know, sometimes there's shitty people in the world and horrible things happen.
Yeah, totally, man. And yeah, it's funny because like Barack Obama's gonna, you know, get on TV. It's like, whatever, dude. How many motherfuckers have you killed?
Right,
you know?
right.
How many children have you killed with your drones?
Right.
You know, and he's not gonna let this crisis go to waste when it comes to pimping gun control.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. I listened to him like 2 days, or was it the day after it happened, and he's all like, you know, the typical same old robot speech that he gives, and you're like, let me be clear, and I'm like, here we go, he's gonna talk about fucking gun control.
That was like
what
right
a
on the
fucking
money,
asshole, dude. Like, you know, like you're gonna politicize this literally the day after. Like, how many fucking people have you killed with your drone strikes, you motherfucker? Like, you know. Anyways, I'm let me woe down here a little bit, but yeah, man, like all these people like politicizing it, you know, and but yeah, what you got, Kyle?
Well, it's interesting. Like gun control is obviously that's their natural inclination. It never occurs to them, and Matt mentioned this earlier because I did it, was collectivized thinking. You know, I said I love all Jews, and I just put them all in a box, and obviously they're not all the same. This young man did the same thing with black people. He said, I hate all black people, and that's not fair to, you know, to do that.
Well, I saw that he had a black friend, apparently. At least that's what some articles on the internet say.
Probably not anymore.
But yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't know what the deal is with that. I didn't read any of those articles, but
yeah, there were so many articles, and it was just like, oh man, it's like, do I really want to go into this? You know?
Yeah, I
like,
mean, it's like, you know, I'm sorry, it fucking sucks, but you know, it was a crazy dude. You know, what can you possibly do to prevent this?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, he was radicalized by stuff he read on the internet. A lot of people, I think, when you're very poor and your life is not good, and this is not all poor people, but some people, they look for someone to hate.
The only way I can think of preventing this, or at least of cutting back the casualties on that day, would be if somebody else there was armed. And when this crazy guy starts taking fire on people, somebody shoots him.
I agree. It's,
you know, he might have been able to kill a person or two people, or he might not have killed any because somebody might have taken him out first. If one person there had a gun.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy to think, like, I mean, you know, I've never really lived in a free society before, but I imagine in such a society, people do carry guns into church. You know, you wouldn't think you would need one there, but you wouldn't think you would need one in schools either. And how many school shootings have we seen? So it's always good to be able to, you know, defend yourself.
Yeah, most of them, all of them have pretty much taken place in gun-free zones.
Movie
I think.
Theaters.
Yeah, right. Like so.
Malls.
Yeah, but it's just amazing. Like they're just, I don't know. Like I said, my Facebook was blowing up, and now did you see all these petitions to remove, you know, the Confederate flag from state buildings? I mean, I don't care. I mean, I just look at it like it's a piece of cloth. You know, like people are thinking like, oh, if we just take down these flags, something like this will be prevented. And it's like, you know what? No, racism and hatred is in someone's heart, and you're never going to take, you know, no matter what you do, things like this, you know, are not preventable. And then, like I said, everybody's grasping at straws. Like, well, if you just sign this petition on change.org to remove the Confederate flags, You know, like
Yeah,
this wouldn't happen.
That's not going to do anything.
It's just pathetic. You know, it's really you know, when things like this happen.
Where do you guys stand on the Confederate flag? Like, I mean, do you think it should be removed from government buildings?
I mean, I'd be for removing all flags, and then removing all flags from government buildings, and then removing all those government buildings. But anyways, we'll just bulldoze them. But anyways, but no, it's just a flag, you know, because like, you know, because everybody's arguing. Like, there were so many articles on Facebook like about removing, like, sign this petition, and everybody's like, well, that's about our Southern heritage, and then other people are like, no, that's, you know, the KKK flies that at their rallies, and then, you know, then so many people. I mean, you look at just. Let's take the American flag. It's all perspective, right? So some like, you know, someone looking at that American flag and someone else looking at that flag, it represents who knows what to them. You know, it's all perspective. And it's a piece of fucking cloth. Like, you know, it doesn't, it's so that's kind of where I'm at. Like the Confederate flag, yeah, I know some racists that, you know, they're proud of that flag. And then I know others that it's a symbol of 10th Amendment. It's a symbol of, like, you know, basically or Southern heritage, or you don't know, like, you don't know what's in someone's heart and what their perspective is. And then again, furthermore, it's a piece of cloth, you know. So
it does have meaning to people, and you know, the two meanings that I see, it's either pro-slavery or it's pro-Southern independence, and I understand in the South especially, there's still a bitterness or an anger over the Civil War, and I understand the anti-federal government sentiment. You know, we don't want to promote, and I don't agree with promoting slavery. I believe in private property rights. I would never take somebody's flag down off their property or whatever, but you know, you just don't know where that person's coming from. Why they support
what about
that flag.
should that flag be on a state building? Like, I think that's the whole question. That's we're not talking about taking the flag off people's shirts quite yet. You know, they're talking or front porches. They're talking about taking the flags off of courthouses.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess so. You know, whatever.
Yeah, I personally, like, you know, I don't think it should be up to the federal government to tell them that they have to take it down. I think it should be a state or local issue. Yeah. Now, the federal government should be able to say whether the federal government wants to fly the flag. You know. Technically, you know. I mean, now, do I think somebody should fly the flag? Personally, like I live, like where I stand on the Civil War, I don't think the Civil War should have ever been fought.
I agree.
And I personally, I don't believe that if you look at history, I don't believe that it was ever about freeing the slaves. That wasn't the main.
No, that's not what they taught us in elementary school.
Yeah, exactly.
That's not what they taught us.
Yeah, so
it was about slavery. Abraham Lincoln was a good guy, and he freed the slaves.
Abraham Lincoln was like one of the most racist motherfuckers ever.
Yeah, he was a white supremacist by his own quotes.
Yeah, I mean, the truth is, he didn't give two fucks about black people, dude. And it's like
it was economics.
Either him or Jefferson Davis. Neither of them would sacrifice white men for black men. You know what I mean? Like they're, you know, the war was about economics. The war was about you know, the South thought that the North was fucking them out of their resources, and I think they were. You know.
Yeah.
But I mean, the South were, you know, fucking slaves out of their labor too. You know.
Yeah.
It's But, you know, at that point of time in our country, states had the rights to succeed from the Union, you know. So I believe
that's what they were told.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
That's what the piece of paper said.
You know, they were within their rights. Now, if the Civil War was really about slavery, you know, Abraham Lincoln could have bought back the slaves at above market prices for far less money than a war would cost. And, you know, nobody would have to die.
Yeah, I've heard the economics theory, and I think there's some truth to that. But my personal belief that it was really about power.
Yeah.
It was about his ego and keeping the southern states under his thumb.
Bringing it close to home here.
Nah, I think it's about money, dude. I mean, it was about money. I mean, no doubt, dude.
I'm speculating here. I don't know. I never talked to Abe.
Bringing it close to home here, being that we're podcasting live from
money
Baltimore.
and power is totally connected, and I mean, it's. Yeah, because I mean, some of it is power. You know, I mean, it's just basically like, you know, it's probably the people that were backing Lincoln. You know, his the people that gave him money. The people that he had to pay back. You know, were probably Northerners who wanted to fuck over the South for their resources. So, you know, the South said, instead of selling to the North, we're going to sell to France because France will pay us more money. And then so the North said, you know, okay, you can sell to France, but then you're going to pay a tariff. And then it's like the tariff is going to make the South make even less money.
Mm-hmm.
So the South was like, no, we'll just like leave the Union and not pay the tariff. Go fuck yourself, you know?
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, so I mean, it's like any other war. It's always about money, you know. And I think, you know, the whole like the Civil War, free the slaves. It's the history's way of righting the wrongs.
Exactly.
You know, they don't want to talk about the true story because it's going to make them look like fucking assholes.
And that's what stems from the Confederate flag, is that the majority of Americans have a misguided and a totally they have no clue about the real history of the Civil War. And bringing it close to home, really good book to read, The Real Lincoln, and that was written by Thomas DiLorenzo. He's a professor at Loyola, economics professor, but he wrote two books,
Lincoln
The Real
Unmasked.
Lincoln and Lincoln Unmasked, and basically goes into the whole real history of the Civil War, and basically, you know, Lincoln, and bringing it close to home again, he ordered the guns to be turned at Fort McHenry on the city of Baltimore.
Wow.
Like, you know, so yeah, right. You know, so then bringing it full circle again, this is where, you know, Rand Paul spoke at the Baltimore County GOP, their annual Lincoln Reagan dinner. Lincoln.
Yeah, I was there.
So yeah, right. So like, let's name. We're gonna name our annual dinner after Lincoln, who turned the guns on Baltimore City. With you know, like, but you talk to them about that. Like, no, I'm not gonna call people out, but a certain individual that's involved in the Republican Central Committee or Baltimore County. Anyways, he posted a thing from the Southern Poverty Law Center.
Yeah.
The Southern about basically sign the petition to take down the Confederate flag from state buildings. And basically he basically posted like, tear it down and burn it up. And I'm like, okay. So would you feel the same? First off, your history of the Civil War is totally misguided and wrong. Furthermore, would you say the same thing about the American flag? Probably not. And then even more, you're going to post something from the Southern Poverty Law Center that basically was behind the MEAC report, and basically published that report that like Tea Party and libertarians and those that support Ron Paul and Chuck Bednarik and like Gary Johnson are labeled
Michael
domestic.
Bednarik, right?
Yeah, Michael Bednarik are domestic terrorists and need to be watched by the FBI and the feds. Like, really? You're going to post something from the Southern Poverty Law Center? Like, what a joke. So I was the first to comment. I just said it's a piece of cloth. And furthermore, you don't understand your history, like, whatsoever, you know, that you're going to put Lincoln up here on this pedestal. Like, obviously you don't know the true history, the real history of the Civil War. So everything's just misguided, and it's just a shame where like tragedies like this happen, where it's just like, there's just the ignorance that's out there. But anyways, I digress.
I think the ending slavery obviously is a very good thing. And he gets all the credit for that, and that's where a lot of that worship comes from.
Bloodiest war in United States history.
Ending slavery was a good thing.
Bloodiest war.
But
we're not saying it wasn't. That was a very good thing.
I don't think anybody's saying that it
like
wasn't.
He burned Atlanta to the ground. Like, you know, it's like
Sherman.
Yeah, it's like.
I mean, slavery didn't even end after the Civil War.
Exactly. You know, and it still
some people were allowed to keep slaves for a number of years. You know, and
then you had Jim Crow laws in the 60s, and you're still like,
yeah,
you know,
I mean,
it's
exactly. You know, slavery didn't end after the Civil War. You know, it's just the winners write history. You know, and they want to write the history books to make them look like the good guys.
Yeah, but his own quotes.
These are just lies that we were fed in school.
Yeah, by his own quotes. It's not Thomas DiLorenzo's opinion. I mean, he quotes tons of Lincoln speeches and Lincoln quotes, and you can hear that the guy was a white supremacist. I mean, he's like, I'm in favor of the supreme position being granted to the white man. And you read this stuff and you're going, is this a real quote? You know, and it appears to be, you know.
Yeah.
Lincoln Reagan dinner.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah. But
you know, it's funny too, you know, just to think that the KKK were the, you know, extreme wing of the Democratic Party, you know, back in the day.
Yeah.
You know, I shouldn't say it's funny. I should say, I mean, it's just fucking crazy, you know.
But that just goes to show how the majority of Americans are so ignorant to our own history that we're only talking like 150 years ago. You know, this isn't like ancient history. This is like 150 years ago, and it just goes to show like the public schooling and the dumbing down.
Yeah,
like when 90%, like what is it, 95% of Americans are educated by government schools.
Government,
What
you
do
hit it,
expect?
Alex. That's exactly right.
What do you
Yeah.
expect? You know?
Yeah, it's funny too because it's like the Confederate flag is just like so offensive to people, and honestly, that's why like I wouldn't want to wear a Confederate flag shirt because, first off, I'm not a big fan of flags anyways. Being a voluntarist, I think flags typically bring out the worst in people. But, when it comes to, patriotism and, the idea of duty to your country, and, just people standing by their country when they do fucked up shit and just like throwing logic out the window and not thinking for themselves, but, just supporting a war that, we shouldn't be in.
Yeah.
So, I'm not a fan of either of these things. And then, well, why hang the American flag at this courthouse? I mean, didn't slavery happen under the American flag, weren't Japanese Americans thrown into
Wasn't
internment
the American flag
camps
flown
under the
above
American
Japanese
flag?
internment camps during World War II,
Yeah, exactly,
I think a lot of bad things have been done under the flag for sure. I think if you go back to the founding of the country, there's some pride there because, it was founded as a small government republic, and it was founded in a revolt against big government tyranny in England. So, yeah, a lot of people, to them, that's what it represents. It represents a free country and freedom and all of that. And there's a tendency to just throw the whole thing under the bus.
But people don't understand that, like, freedom isn't free. There's a hefty fucking fee.
Well, $1.05.
I don't think that fee includes a 14-year occupation of Afghanistan, personally.
I don't either, bro. I gotcha. Yeah. So.
But, yeah, flags. Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Flags.
So, I don't know. I mean, but I can also see, like, it's basically like, the Confederate flag at the same time, it doesn't mean racist things for some people. For some people, it might mean, it might mean more about like states' rights. Like, the state wanted to leave the Union and the state wanted to be free. But, I mean, the South, but how free did the South want to be if they were going to allow slavery?
Yeah.
I mean, I personally, and a lot of people have said, slavery was dying out anyways. If it weren't for, you could not have had the war and it would have died out in a few years anyway with the Industrial Revolution.
Yeah.
So, there was just undoubtedly, better ways to end slavery than a war.
Probably changing the law.
Wars suck. They're probably the worst things that ever happen.
I don't know if that slavery is possible without the government policy that says, people are property, and we will enforce that. A runaway slave was subject to recapture by the state and return to his property owner.
Yeah, that's another thing the North could have did. Basically, like, they could have let the South go, and they could have said, hey, all runaway slaves, you can take shelter over here. You cross our line, you're a free man,
Yeah.
And, I mean, that's another thing that they could have did.
Yeah, it was a very divisive issue in that era. Fortunately, it's not divisive for us. We figured out that was a bad thing. It was a horrible institution.
Bad. Okay.
Slavery's bad.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But
yes. So
yeah, flags.
So, do you want to talk about?
So we're talking about women on the $10 bill.
Oh yeah, that was another issue that came up this week.
Yeah, Julie Borowski, who is, pretty awesome. She does a lot of cool videos. She made a video called "Woman on the $10 Bill," and like the thing I liked about her video is just like the way she went about it, the angle that she went about it, and I feel like libertarians could learn a lot from this strategy. She went at the angle of okay, so you're saying you're going to just put a woman on the $10 bill. It's basically like, saying, okay, well, the girls couldn't do it on their own, so we're just going to give this one to the girls, instead of just, obviously, you just want to put the best person to be on the bill, whoever could be on the bill. And, and she pointed out, like, Harriet Tubman, why not put her on the bill? And put her on the bill for her own merit as being an awesome person who, freed a lot of slaves. An awesome person who, did great things to advance freedom. Don't put her on the bill just because she was the right gender.
Yeah. I think it was it Hamilton that's currently on there? Is that who they're trying to replace?
On the 10, yes.
Yeah. Hamilton was the sort of the fly in the ointment. I think Hamilton was one of the founders that leaned toward big government, and so I'm all in favor of replacing him with anybody. I'm concerned with financial crisis more so than whose picture is on our depreciating money. But I still can comment on it, and yeah, if you want to get Hamilton off of there, I support that.
Yeah, totally. So yeah, man. I just want to give out some props to Julie Borowski because I thought that was pretty awesome. Another thing we had going on this week on punkrocklibertarians.com was we actually had a dude from Denmark submit an article to PRL.
What was his name?
His name is R.H. Roland is his pen name. He's from Denmark, and apparently he's an adult film director. And he sent us an article entitled "Denmark, Paradise of Fools." And he's basically writing a letter to the American left. Because like a lot of lefty liberals, big government people,
they always love the European model, like in Europe.
Yeah, and specifically Denmark. They're talking about how Denmark has everything socialized, and this guy's breaking it down about like why it sucks in Denmark. He's talking about like what you make and how much they take, and like just how it really sucks.
Yeah.
So and this article, I think it's been getting crazy views. Actually, right now, if you go to punkrocklibertarians.com and you go to the top right hand side of the screen, you'll see it. It's a featured article.
Okay.
So yeah, it's been doing like pretty awesome, and so I think that's a really cool thing about our website is that anybody can submit an article. So right there we're making it to where anybody can write an article. We're giving you a podium to speak, where you have the potential of having your article seen by millions of people. We've gotten, we're getting a good amount of traffic, and the more people that submit good articles like this, we will only grow larger, and we will only get the message out to more people. So that's really cool, and I want to give out props to H.R. Roland.
Cool. I was recently at Niagara Falls in Canada. I talked to a bartender, and I said, how's your healthcare up here? And she says, well, if you want to see somebody, a general doctor, you can get in right away. But if you want to see a specialist, you have to wait. It can be up to 8 months or longer. She said people die waiting to see specialists. They go to America so they can actually just pay somebody and get seen. And one of the things that happens when you have government running the healthcare and paying for it, single payer, people say, oh, they're just going to pay. Well, that money comes with strings. They need to control the doctors. They need to control the spending of doctors and run the offices. Because they're not just going to pay a blank check, so they get involved in controlling of healthcare. But I guess my point is, when you make something, it's not really free. It's taxpayer funded. I never like to say something's free when it's actually taxpayer funded. But people they line up, and it just overwhelms the system with demand, and it ends up in long wait times to see people. And with healthcare, a lot of times it's very important to see somebody quickly. So I think people need to really look at these other countries that supposedly have these great models and look at how hard it is to see a doctor when you really need to see one, and see if that's a system you actually want.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, when Obamacare came about, being in the military, in the Air Force for 8 years, I basically was telling anybody, if you really think, government healthcare, is great, go to a VA hospital or go to basically ask any veteran about their healthcare, So, that was like my big go-to is, if you think like this is going to be all great, grand, and wonderful, go to a VA hospital or talk to a vet about the medical care and the health care that they're receiving.
Yeah, that's a good point, Alex. VA is a good example of it's totally government-run healthcare, and everybody heard about that scandal a couple years ago. I mean, I guess was probably
Arizona?
Been within the last 12 months. No, they just, people are dying waiting for treatment.
Yeah, just like cooking the books and everything appeared to be great, but yeah, I mean
It's all free. Everything's free.
Yeah, everything's great. Everybody's getting health care. It's wonderful.
It's free.
Yeah, but yet, what is it? The homeless, the majority of homeless are veterans.
Yeah.
It's pretty sickening. So obviously they didn't get the help they needed.
Government is a very specific institution. It's good as a referee or an enforcer. Once you start giving it more roles than that, you really start to have a lot of problems. It's not a good educator. It's not a good healthcare provider. It's not good to save for your retirement. It's not good at saving your money because I think everybody knows, they're spending every dime that you pay into Social Security and Medicare. It's being spent right now. So they're not good custodians of our retirement money. They're not good at policing the world. There's just a whole lot of things that government shouldn't be doing that they're trying to do, and I think it's going to end in disaster.
Yeah, everything government touches turns to crap.
Pretty much.
I got you, man. So, guys, I think that's about all for this week. Thanks for coming out, Kyle, and we're definitely going to have you on again. Alexis, thank you.
Hey, man, no problem. Looking forward to Porcfest.
So, guys, submit some articles, and why don't you go ahead and start an account on minds.com. Let's spread the word and get this shit out there. Take care. Oh, and by the way, I'm going to be doing some podcasts from Porcfest this week, so stay tuned for that. Take it easy.
What's your plan for tomorrow? Are you a leader or will you follow? Are you a fighter or will you cower? It's our time to take back the power. What's your plan?